I'm Liz McDade, a huge Columbo fan and a small business owner living in Santa Cruz, California, and this is my brother.
I'm Paul McDade, an editor, assistant editor, and sometimes actor working in the TV and film industry in Los Angeles. And this is Trenchcoat, Cigar, Peugeot, Wandering with Columbo. In every episode, we'll bring you a little Hollywood history, glamour, and behind the scenes as we walk you through Columbo, one of America's greatest TV detective series.
That's right. And we are back from a little bit of a summer hiatus here to talk about season 3, episode 8, A Friend Indeed. This one aired May 5th, 1974. And it's one of my all-time favorites, so I'm very excited to talk about it with you, Paul. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. And our snack today is peanuts or popcorn. And our drink, we had a few options for our drink tonight, was double scotch, coffee, or beer, or all of those.
Did you get all of them? Are you doing like a coffee scotch thing?
Oh, that would have been smart. I did beer tonight. I am not a big fan of scotch. I don't know, it's a little too intense flavor for me. So I'm having a light Corona with a little squirt of lime juice. It's very refreshing on this July night when we're recording.
I haven't had a beer in a long time, but I got the greens I mentioned before, gluten free. This is a dry hopped lager, and it's been really nice. Yeah, the person behind the counter didn't know where these were or what they were because they have like a Glutenberg and some stuff in one section. They used to be all together, but not anymore. This is a Total Wine and More. And then the customer heard me asking about it, and his wife has like stomach problems, so he had loaded up. He took all the blue. I forget what the blue
Oh
one.
no.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Oh yeah, they're right over there, man." He's like, "But they're expensive." But it was nice of him to help me out. So
Show you the way.
yeah, so I got this one, and I got another one, like the red one, that I'll have to try another night. But yeah, these are
Nice.
good. They're like $7 for this size, but
Yeah.
for being gluten free, they're the best that I've had.
Okay.
Um, that still
Cool.
have a like a regular beer, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I had peanuts earlier today. Does that count?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that totally counts.
But tonight I was just eating dinner because we started late here at home, and I some potatoes and green beans and sausage and sauerkraut.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'll be eating that
Excellent. I
while
love
we
it.
while
I
we
love
talk.
it. So I had popcorn today and I ended up eating it all before we could record.
What?
So,
So you copied me?
yeah, my bad. But I made popcorn with coconut oil on the stove. Have you done that, Paul?
No,
So good. You put a little coconut oil in a big pot on your stove and then shake it while it pops and then add some salt and yum. Very good. Highly recommend.
I haven't done the shaking in the pot in a long time.
I know. My air popper's not at home right now. We loaned it out. So, all right. Well, let's get into this. We got our beverages, and you've got some nibbles over there. And of course, our drinks and snacks are inspired by the episode, which we will get into. And here's a quick summary for this episode. The police commissioner, Mark Halpern, helps his friend and neighbor, Hugh, cover up the murder of his wife, Janice. In exchange for the cover up, Halpern forces Hugh to provide an alibi for the murder of his own wife, Margaret. And Columbo's observation of Janice's nightgown gets his gears turning. So now we can get into the thick of it. So, Paul, you've probably heard the full saying, a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I have. Yeah.
So you probably know that it means that true friends are those who are there for you when you need them. And I had to look up I had to look up where this phrase came from, but apparently this came from a philosopher from the 3rd century named Ennius, which I'm probably mispronouncing. It was a Latin phrase that translated to "a sure friend is known when in difficulty." And then there's another saying that came from the 11th century. Um, it is said that at the need, the friend is known. So now we have this saying we use today: a friend in need is a friend indeed. It's funny, I used to think that the expression was kind of the other way around based on this episode, that, like, a little bit sarcastic, like, "Oh, yeah, you're a
Mhm.
friend when you have something that you need."
Indeed, he's a friend.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Strangers on a Train, the Hitchcock movie, where I think I've mentioned before, the two
Uh-huh.
characters don't know each other and they want the other one to kill the other one's significant other or something like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yeah, you had heard, you always thought it was like a sort of a bad thing.
Yeah, for a while I did, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, it makes more sense." It means that a true friend is someone who's there for you when you need them. But, in this case, these are not true friends. These are 2 bad dudes.
Yeah,
Mm.
they're neighbors, right? That's how they know each other.
Yeah. I mean, maybe at one point they were true friends, but the way well, we'll get into it, but the way
Yeah.
the relationship goes down isn't super friendly. Alright, so this episode starts with a dark and nervous phone call. Hugh calls over to his friend Mark's house. Mark Halpern, the police commissioner. Mark isn't there, but Mark's wife, Margaret, answers the phone. She's in bed. Margaret says that Mark isn't there, and she gives a little bit of sass over the phone. She says, "It's Tuesday, club night. I can always tell. It comes right after Monday. Monday, Mark works late." So we instantly get a little feel for the vibe between Mark and Margaret here. And and then Hugh hangs up the phone. The camera pulls back to show that there's been a struggle in the room. There's some furniture that's overturned, and there's a woman who seems to be dead on the ground. And Mark closes her eyes. He grabs his coat and he leaves his house. So we don't actually see the murder happen, which this happens in a few other Columbo episodes, like Blueprint for Murder and Dead Weight. So the murder is implied, but we don't actually see the violence.
Yeah, and she does a little like second take when she hangs up the phone too, like, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, Margaret definitely notices something, and we'll see in a later scene that she's not like super forthcoming. She's kind of a private with information. She's not a very like gossipy, chatty kind of person. So she notices something in this moment, but she never has a chance to mention it to anyone or chooses not to mention it to the police in the future. All right. So now it's time for a lively club. And Paul, I think I need a club like this in my life.
I'm sure there's something like that in Santa Cruz, Liz.
I don't
I'm
know.
sure your husband Elliot's parents know exactly where that is. Just kidding. Yeah, no, I love this place. It's very of the time.
Mm-hmm. It feels a little bit like Cheers, where everyone knows your name. Everyone knows Mark's name. Everyone knows Hugh's name. There's a lot of fun happening. It looks like people are playing backgammon or some other kinds of games. The exterior of this club where Hugh pulls up his car is was filmed at the Riviera Country Club at 1250 Capri Drive in Pacific Palisades.
Hmm.
This club is still in operation today. I think it started like
Oh wow.
1920s or something. It's a
Hmm.
members only club. There's a
Wow.
very strict dress code. You can't wear hats for gentlemen, no open toe shoes for gentlemen, no backless sandals, sweatpants, t-shirts, cargo style pants, denim, halter swimming attire, midriffs, cut off shorts, torn clothes, no perspiration soaked garments or towels.
Do they have a? Is it just a dining place, or do they have a
No, it's a
pool, or?
golf club and a tennis
Oh,
club,
okay. Okay.
and there's a lounge with a restaurant, I believe. People do get married there. I could not find photos of the interior of this club.
Hmm. There's places like that. There's a place like that here in Pasadena.
Oh, yeah? Where you can't wear
Yeah.
sweaty clothes?
I think it's a very exclusive
Yeah,
place. St. John my wife could give you the lowdown
the
on that.
lowdown. Yeah. This is interesting. They also don't let you use your cell phone in the club. Like, you can't have the ringer on or, like, show a video to a friend. You can text if you keep your phone on silent.
There's a place like that and off of Sunset like that too, a restaurant where you can't. I think you have to be. It's another member place, and you can't have cell phones.
Wow. Very, very strict. Some of the current celebrity members at this club, according to the internet, I don't know how if it's super accurate today, but Adam Sandler, Mark Wahlberg, Dennis Quaid, Luke Wilson, and Larry David. Okay, I don't want to go on and on forever about this club, but I was
But you get the feel for it now, right?
kind of astounded.
Get the
And I
lowdown.
just have to mention one more thing, Paul.
Okay.
Guess how much your initiation fee is if you are selected?
Accepted. Yeah. Is it like $10,000 for?
It's way more.
Oh, a million?
It's $300,000.
That's not bad.
Totally.
If that's what you if that's like a fifth of your rate for a film for
Mhm.
2 months.
That's true. That's true. I'm sure Adam Sandler can afford that.
Oh yeah, all those
That's
guys, obviously.
yeah. Okay, anyhow, back to Columbo. So Hugh is greeted by the host or the maitre d' of the club lounge. Hugh is clearly in a hurry. He kind of walks away from this guy mid sentence.
Yeah, yeah. These actors in this, I love them,
Yeah.
and Michael McGuire he's superb.
He's plays Hugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. He's definitely not playing it cool. Like, he is leaving little breadcrumbs for Columbo to find all over the
Oh
place.
yeah, yeah. He's sweating it.
Yeah, he is. So he finds his friend Mark Halpern, who's playing dice, some kind of a dice game. I don't know what it is, if it's backgammon or I don't know. Maybe someone who's listening can tell me what kind of dice game they're playing. Anyhow, he's holding hands with a young woman who's clearly not his wife, and he's playing for pretty high stakes. The round they're at is it's at $3,200, which in today's money is like $20,000. So pretty high stakes game. And finally, the game that round wraps up. Hugh pulls Mark away, and Mark wants to know what's up. And again, this is I like the way they piece the story together. They don't really show it, but we understand that as the two men are like walking through the club, Hugh has told Mark that he killed his wife.
Yeah.
And then the two of them take a seat in a dark corner, and Hugh spills the beans. He tells Mark everything that happened. He's clearly upset. It was clearly an accident, and he doesn't know what to do. And I gotta say, I love the loungy piano music that's playing in the background while Hugh's kind of breaking down in this moment. But Mark tells Hugh what to do. So Mark is clever, and Mark is a lot colder. So
Yeah.
while poor Hugh is sad and
He's
freaking out,
distraught. Doesn't
he's
know what to do.
yeah. Mark sees an opportunity here, and he says,
Opportunity knocks, Liz.
I know. That's probably the other title they were considering for this episode, Opportunity Knocks. So Mark says, "Don't call the cops. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to the bar. You're gonna call your house at 10 o'clock. I'll pretend to be Janice." And Hugh's still kind of like not really comprehending, but he agrees to go along with it. So now we have to create the alibi. So Mark leaves the club, drives home, and parks in his driveway. And according to IMDb, and also I think this was on the Colombo File map of Colombo filming locations. This is on Muirfield Road in Los Angeles. It's 355 Muirfield Road. It's hard to see. It's possible, absolutely possible, that this is where they filmed it. You can definitely see that it was filmed on Fourth Avenue, but it's hard to see exactly which. The houses have all changed so much. So,
Hmm.
what was there in 1974 has probably been renovated like 12 times since then. But anyhow, so it's filmed somewhere in Bel Air. And Mark breaks in to Hugh's house across the road through some sliding glass doors with some really pretty white curtains. I just want to point out some kind of modern lace curtain. And Mark sees Janice is on the ground. I don't know if you noticed, but I think the actress kind of had a hard time not moving at all. Her eyelids are fluttering just a little bit.
I didn't notice. I always look for that though to see how they can hold their how long they can hold their breath or before they cut away. You know.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, Janice had to spend a lot of time playing dead in this episode, so I'm sure she did a great job in general. Anyhow, Mark undresses her. We don't see it, but we understand that he takes all her clothes off and goes upstairs to the bedroom, grabs a nightgown out of her closet. He also steals some of the jewelry from Janice's jewelry box in her bedroom. And I assuming that this scene was actually filmed in a home because of there's a really beautiful solid wood staircase surrounded by like really gorgeous wood paneling along the walls. I don't know if you noticed it. It doesn't,
Yes, I did. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look like a set. It looks like something real, but sometimes I'm wrong. Oftentimes I'm wrong. But anyhow, so meanwhile, Hugh is still sitting alone at the bar, drinking something, maybe some more scotch. He uses the bar phone to call Janice, and Mark picks up and coaches Hugh through the call. He says, "Repeat it or say it," some things like that. And Hugh is instructed to wait at the bar until the cops come find him there. And Hugh seems to be getting a little bit sloshed at the bar from his drink. I thought the actor playing Hugh did such a stellar job here, acting a little bit upset, but trying to play it cool and also slightly drunk. There's just so many layers to what he was doing here.
And talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my wife. She's got to get to bed. And the bartender's like smiling. Huh. Sure.
He's like, sure, man.
But yeah, no, he's great. I thought he was great when he was confessing to him,
Hmm.
and it makes sense though when you find out that he's the police commissioner. Why he would go to him?
Right, right. Yeah, because I can't remember exactly when we figure that out, but I guess it's
Yeah,
when Mark gets home, we realize like, oh, he's the commissioner of police.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was good that you don't because it's all. But now, and I like that you don't know offhand.
yeah, yeah. I've seen this one so many times. It's hard to remember what it was like, what I was thinking the first time I saw it. Have you
Yeah,
had you seen this one before,
I
Paul?
had because I always remembered the clothes underneath the pillow. Because didn't mom and dad do that?
I do that.
Yeah, I do that too.
Hmm.
The only yeah, yeah, that was the only thing I remembered from this episode actually,
Oh,
and
really?
it's yeah, to me that was like that's how he solves the case. That was always in my head from that little thing, but it's not. But I think because I never was paying attention like I am now, and it was a long time ago. I think yeah, I think I saw it as when I was younger, and then when a local station here in Los Angeles was running these, I don't think they were ran in order, or was it on Netflix at one time?
Uh,
Like a long time ago, like 10
maybe.
years ago. Anyway, I kind of went through a lot of them, but I couldn't have gone through all of them. I don't think.
I still haven't seen all of them.
But yeah, but well, I know I didn't go through any of the reboot.
Yeah.
I didn't remember much else of this one.
Yeah. So Mark wraps up this alibi that he's creating for Hugh. He hides Janice's jewels in his own garage. It looks like maybe in a bowling bag. And then it's time for a little Mark and Margaret time. And Mark goes inside to get ready for bed. And again, we learn about their dynamic. She says, "Oh, you're home early tonight. Did you win?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "Oh, that's refreshing. I won't have to write you a check this week." So there's clearly some kind of financial issue happening here between the two of them.
Hmm.
We also learned that she's getting an award for her charitable giving by the Holcomb House the following night. And I don't know if this room was filmed. If this feels like a real room, also, but once again, I'm often wrong. But it's all these cool shades of yellow, and Margaret has on a really cool silky nightgown. It's sort of like a giant paisley or like bandana style print.
And
It's really cool.
he just gets on the bed with his shoes on.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I always thought I was like, wouldn't she be like, Mark, please take your shoes off.
Yeah, you would think so in their lovely home. So he kind of picks a little bit of a fight with her, and then he goes out to their terrace off their bedroom, and he says he sees someone leaving Hugh's house. He can see across the balcony or the terrace to Hugh's house. He sees somebody running, and Margaret comes over quickly, but she doesn't see anyone because of course there's no one there. And so Mark calls the house, and then he calls the cops, and he says this is Commissioner Halpern. So that's when we learn, like, oh, this guy's a big deal. And he sends the cops to an address on Fairfax, which I looked on Google Maps. It looks like just a business district in LA. I didn't see any housing anywhere near there. So it's probably on Muirfield and 4th Avenue or 4th Street. I forget.
If you say so, Liz.
I
Just
just
kidding.
spend way too much time looking on Google Maps at the different houses. Some of them have been blurred out, because people don't like you looking at their fancy home.
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, they've all been, I'm sure, updated and changed. So, anyhow, Columbo is now on the scene, and I love the way he shows up to Hugh's house. He's lost a cigar somewhere in the back seat of the commissioner's car.
Yeah.
He's on his hands and knees. He finds it, he grabs the wrong end, he gets it out of there, and then he asks an officer to double check
Yeah.
that he got all the
That
ashes.
seemed like improv, like that was
Uh,
great. Very
yeah,
like, wait, make sure you check.
yeah, that was good. So Columbo shows up. He meets Lieutenant Duffy, who you probably recognize, Paul,
Yeah, baby.
played by John Finnegan, who's in 13
Yep.
episodes.
His buddy.
Yeah, his good buddy. I love Duffy. I like Duffy's accent. He just,
Yeah, he's good too. He gets a little more action in this one.
mhm.
More lines and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I really like to hear him talk. So Columbo heads up. Columbo sees the murder scene, and then he goes upstairs to the bedroom. He starts looking around. Something in the bedroom feels off to Columbo, and the music at that moment changes or kicks in. So he's in the bedroom, and then all of a sudden you hear the kind of like low rumbling, more ominous music, like mapping onto Columbo's thoughts or something. I don't know. It's really cool the way they
Hmm.
do it. I don't know if you remember that scene, Paul.
I didn't remember the music, but I only watched this once. But I liked it so much, I didn't want to watch it again because I want to watch it again another time where I'm not analyzing it
Mhm.
because it was so good.
Yeah, you want to like just watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, but I hear it now. I'm just kind of glancing as you spoke, and I hear it. Yeah, the music kicks
Yeah,
in.
it's
Yeah.
really I love the way they did that. You kind of like, because Columbo's always thinking, but when the music kicks in, it signifies like, oh, now he's picking up on something that's a little bit off. This is when he finds the pink nightgown, Janice's pink nightgown under her baby blue pillow. And so he asks the technician, make sure you look for prints. I love the technician here too, Paul. He has this giant cigarette like dangling from his mouth while he talks to
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he has a really funny way of enunciating. He says to Columbo, I had to write it down. I was like, he's saying something funny. He's like, this is the fourth time I've been in this neighborhood in 2 weeks. He says it weird, but it it just
Mhm.
gives him like some kind of New York quality, or I don't know. I loved it. You'll have to watch that again too, Paul. I've seen this like about a million times. I might know almost all the words, but I did have to write down my favorite lines because there's some good ones. All right. So let's head out to Parker Center. This was the old police department in LA. It was demolished in 2019. So we see the exterior shots of Parker Center. And then the interior, it was probably filmed on a set. Do you think, Paul, all those cop scenes?
Do I think they were filmed on a set at the office?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'd have to look more closely. It could have been. It's a small room,
Hmm.
but the roof does look like an office type.
Yeah.
The ceiling, I mean, the ceiling
Hmm.
with the light, that kind of light, fluorescent underneath.
I did notice those lights. Well, anyhow, so we're back at we don't know if this is a set or actually some kind of office building, but Halpern is giving a press conference talking about protecting all the citizens and in all the neighborhoods, not just the so-called problem areas. And then I really liked the way they did this cut from we're with Halpern at the police station, and then we're watching Halpern on the TV, and there's a man
Hmm.
sticking his tongue out and giving a raspberry.
Well, you forgot the first person they
Oh
showed.
yeah, Mike
Mike
Lally.
Lally. Yeah.
That's right.
Getting
Getting
beer
beer,
again.
which is
Or,
which is what inspired our drink, our beer tonight. A lot of beer
oh,
drinking in
okay.
this bar.
Yeah.
And I kept feeling like this is the kind of bar that would have peanuts or popcorn on the counter there.
Hmm.
I didn't see any peanuts or popcorn. But I'm just
So you just
I
assumed,
just
Liz.
assumed.
No, I'm just kidding.
I just declared peanuts and popcorn the snack because it seems very fitting for that little bar. Yeah, so Mike Lowley is the bartender and Artie Jessup is played by Val Avery, who I think is in 4 other episodes of Columbo.
Yeah, probably. He's in the Cassavetes stuff too.
Oh, cool. Okay, so he was one of the crew. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he did a great job too in this episode.
Yeah, he's great. He adds a nice little level of, being the jewel thief.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then he's with a Lily Tomlin lookalike.
Yeah, totally.
No, I shouldn't say it because she was. I like this actress. She was good.
What, you saying you don't like Lily Tomlin?
No, she's great. I shouldn't compare this performer to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she reminded me a little bit of Carol Burnett as Mrs. Hannigan in Annie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just a little
Little
bit of those
girls.
vibes. She's not all sloshy drunk like Mrs. Hannigan, but I don't know, something came across to me. She's wearing so it's Artie Jessup at the bar with his girlfriend. She's wearing a fur stole. Looks like it's made from 2 foxes sewn together, and a really cool navy blue dress and some bright purple tights. She looks great. I don't condone fur, obviously, but 1974, I think people didn't always think twice about it then, and she looks really great. She wants to go shopping with Artie because she hates this place.
Yeah. Did he say how long he's been out of jail?
Yeah, I think she's like a whole month he'd been out of jail. He'd been out of jail a while and he had not taken her on any kind of date. And we learn here that Artie has quite a temper.
Yeah.
I love the little details that the writers included in this episode. Just this little conversation. It's not just Artie at a bar. It's Artie, he's got a girlfriend and he's
Yeah.
got a little bit of a temper and she likes roller derby and it's just like fun little tidbits. Well, in rolls cool guy Sharky. According to IMDb, this guy's name is Sharky. He's wearing his sunglasses inside. He's got a shirt that's unbuttoned almost all the way down to his belly button and a big gold medallion. And Artie's been waiting for Sharky so that Artie can sell Sharky some of the jewels that he stole. Sharky says, I can't touch your stuff, not with the kind of heat I'm going to get. Because um, after the murder, it looks like the Bel Air burglar is also a murderer, so Sharky is not going to help him anymore. And then Artie loses it. Artie says, I should have known better than to deal with a punk like you. I love this little moment.
Yeah, he was in Capone with Ben Gazzara.
Oh, the Sharky was?
Yeah, yeah. I was just looking at his IMDb, just curious, like who, because I didn't look him up.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of lines, but I thought he did a good job kind of playing this guy who's kind of cool, doesn't really lose doesn't lose his cool when Artie loses his cool, you know?
Yeah,
And this, according to IMDb, this is filmed at the Lariat Club at 5th and Wall, which is in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles.
it definitely felt like a real place.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the address of that? What's it called?
The corner of 5th and Wall. I looked at that on Google Maps. It looks very different today, so I could not find
Hmm.
this little dive bar. But it is a divey bar. We used to have a bar like that in Santa Cruz that
What happened?
went in once or twice. I mean, maybe it's still there. I don't know. This
Oh,
was like
okay.
in my 20s. But had like a little pool table in the back. Kind of, you don't want to see it with the lights on too bright, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever go in the? Is there any reason to go to Skid Row, Paul? Do you ever have to go by there, drive through for work?
Yeah, I've driven down there to maybe go to. I went to a party that was at some brewery. Um, one of the, but yeah, it's. I mean, it's several blocks. You know, I mean the people have grown up there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there. I mean, there's people with degrees who are there. You
Mm.
know, or I mean, I say that, and I watched a video of this filmmaker went on Skid Row with a couple of people, and they were just interviewing people, talking to them, and you know, just talking about the reality of that life there. And one of my coworkers used to work with a lot of people who are on the streets, and she was telling me there's lights that go around the area that are really bright to signify this is an area, this is blocked off in a sense, and to keep light showing everybody that this is a specific area. So I don't know if it's to protect, if it's protection for everybody to have those bright lights. I'm not 100% sure, but now in Los Angeles and Pasadena, you know, the just I'm sure as in Santa Cruz, the homelessness is thousands of probably
Mm.
of homeless. I have to look at the, and those are because it's those are the people who, not sure the exact number, and I'm sure it's changing, but they don't. Not everybody goes signs up to say, you know, they're homeless.
Right.
But it's pretty epidemic. You know, it's
Right.
in Highland Park where we used to live. It's there's little encampments everywhere. There's tents everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, all over Sunset. You know, there's sections
Oh wow.
that are, you know, multiple tents in a row. Um,
Yeah.
there's like 8 tents next to each other that I drive by every evening and every morning. Um, yeah, so I mean it's very they're trying. I mean they're trying to do several things, you know,
Yeah.
for them out here. But yeah, getting back to the Colombo. Yeah, that bar. I love that bar because it seemed very real. Like I was like, oh, this is like does not seem like a set. And to me that's had to be the combination of Hargrove and everybody, but Ben Gazzara, the director as well. You know, like let's make this a real place. Can we get a real place? I would imagine he's only directed like a few things and all.
Oh wow.
And I mean, he did a couple movies directed later on in life, but I think he only did a yeah. Dean Hargrove, as David Koenig mentioned in his Columbo book, he had worked with Gazzara on the one of Gazzara's early running series. It was like a black and white show, I think, where he's always. It was a hard show for Gazzara to do because it was kind of boring. He was always the same plot, same character. I forget what the name of it was. And then they worked with each other in The Name of the Game, and he directed an episode of In the Name of the Game for Dean Hargrove. And so I just realized tonight, looking at IMDb, that Gazzara directed another Columbo episode.
Oh,
So I'm very excited to see that one. That's in
which
season
one?
4.
Yeah, I
And
thought he really had an eye, that Ben Gazzara really had an eye for directing. After watching this episode, like, it seems a shame he didn't go on to do a whole bunch more directing, because I really liked the way he put this together.
yeah, Run for Your Life was the name of that TV series that was 1967, 1968. And the other episode is Troubled Waters.
Oh, yes, I love that episode. Okay, so that was Ben Gazzara too. That one's a different feeling, a lot more humor than this one, but equally engaging.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see that one. Yeah, yeah, he did a movie Beyond the Ocean in 1990, and before that, it was just 2 Columbos, 5 episodes of Run for Your Life, which he was the main star, and then The Name of the Game, 1 episode, 1971.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me love this episode more than others is the locations, that we are not just in a studio, that they found these cool spots like this little bar, for example. And even just some of the scenes on the street, just seeing them pull up, enter the bar, for example. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. All right, so back to Parker Center. The press conference is wrapping up. Halpern, in the press conference, gives the impression that both he and his wife saw the murderer from their balcony. And that's kind of an important note, moving forward in this episode. Important plot point. So now Columbo is heading over to the Halperns' house. And Columbo pulls into a house on a corner lot. This is where I was like, what else how can I find this house? Curved driveway, um, large wrought iron gate, and you can see the street sign that says 4th Street. So the front of this house, or the side that Columbo parks on, is on 4th Street. Anyhow, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't have the answer, but Columbo enters the yard to talk with Mrs. Halpern, Mark's wife, so Margaret. Margaret is in the garden cutting flowers, and Columbo startles her. And in the moment of being startled, she tears her coat on a cactus and says, "Oh, I think I recognize you." And apparently, Columbo got drunk at a department dinner last year. He was like, "I was hoping you wouldn't recognize me. I got pretty drunk that night." So Columbo's so smart. He gets a little more info about the murder victim, Janice, from Margaret. And Margaret says that Janice was seeing other men that she didn't know. And Margaret tried to talk to her about it once, and Janice nearly got violent with her. And again, this is where Mrs. Halpern she's not someone who likes to gossip or, pry or share extra information. So she kind of gives Columbo just the basics and says, I don't know who any of her boyfriends were. Yeah. I love that she was gardening. She was out in her yard gardening in like a suit,
Mm-hmm.
a suit and a button down blouse. That's her casual garden wear.
High class, Liz.
I know. She's a fancy lady. Very fancy lady.
And that was Grady Hunt.
Yes. Grady Hunt did a nice job. He definitely picked out some nice pieces for this episode. Janice's nightgown. She's got this like baby blue nightgown with like, fur, or not fur, feather trimmed sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
She looks great. I mean, she's dead, so she doesn't look great, but like her nightgown is great.
Isn't that the same as
Okay.
the Lady in Waiting one? Maybe similar. Maybe not.
Yeah, it could be the same.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul, good callback.
But
Maybe I'll make a note. Try to find a photo of Janice's nightgown and Beth's nightgown. I feel like Beth's might have been white.
I love how he's trying to. She says goodbye to him, and he's still trying to figure something out. And she looks up at him, and he's like, like I'm figuring out, and she just looks down like, oh my gosh, and just goes in, like, she can't, she's got stuff to do. Just go on, move on.
Yeah, she's not gonna offer any extra help to this guy. She wants to stay out of this mess. She's like, does not want to be a part of it. Um, so now Columbo crosses the street from Margaret's home to Hugh's home, and we see that Hugh is still quite upset. He's outside in his yard.
He's a little more collected though this time. He's got to put his mask on.
Yes. But he's kind of like zoning out when the camera first finds him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I like how Columbo
And
just backs up, like you said, all the way to the. He just
yeah.
goes in reverse. That's something I would do.
That's dangerous, Paul.
I
Don't do
know, but
that.
it's like I'm not that. Yeah.
Especially in LA on your busy roads.
Well, I mean, did. I was at a friend. We were at a friend's the other night, and he's like lives off of one of these narrow streets. Like
Oh
there was no
yeah.
parking, and his
Like in the
driveway in the
mountains.
mountains, his driveway goes
Ugh.
down, like down. And so I was at the very tip, and to turn around, I couldn't really just turn around. It
Oh
was like I would have
no.
been like Austin Powers in that little hallway trying to, so I went backwards for a little bit and upset St. John a little bit because she's like, well, is there somebody coming? I'm like, no. And then there was somebody coming towards us, and they had to stop,
Oh my
and I turned
gosh,
around into the
Paul.
next turn, and then yeah,
And you
we
survived.
survived. And then yeah, like where I work, the parking structure, it's you park behind people. It gets so full there,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to give the people your keys and then you tell them what number you're on so they can move your car if the person in front of you needs to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some of the spaces in there that nobody wants. If you park there, you can see why nobody wants because they're hard to back out of.
Oh
So occasionally I
yes.
take those.
Oh man, those streets in LA, those curvy mountain streets and those little driveways, like I don't know how people
Oh yeah,
come in and out of those every day. They seem terrifying to me.
yeah. No, there's some over here by Highland Park and El Sereno, or the hill over here by the 110. That yeah, they're like, ooh, they're scary to like go down a driveway. Like I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
gone quite down some of those driveways, but I've
Yeah.
seen them, been like, ooh.
Yeah. This is what we talk about, listener. It's true. People in LA talk about roads and freeways. Okay, let's move on, Paul. Um, so Columbo is there to talk to Hugh. Columbo's got some questions. He's trying to make sense of bits and pieces. And Hugh's reaction to Columbo, to his questions, sets off all kinds of alarm bells for Columbo. You can just see it in Columbo's reaction. So Columbo's just trying to get a little more info. And Hugh's like, I should think it's obvious. I mean, I don't understand why are you asking these questions? And so
Mm-hmm.
he again, he's not really good at playing it cool. But so Columbo notices that, but then Hugh also points out the fact of his wife keeping a nightgown under the pillow. So Columbo realizes, okay, so Hugh couldn't have overlooked the nightgown. So Columbo's gears are turning here. He's like getting more important information.
Yeah, one thing though, I sometimes forget that my shirt that I wear, because usually I'll just wear like some nighttime boxer shorts and like a t-shirt, and
Uh-huh.
I'll
Tell us tell us more about your pajamas,
I
Paul.
have forgotten. I have pajama pants, but I have forgotten them. Literally forgot that they were there, and just put on some other ones and went to
Mhm.
sleep. So that
Mhm.
could disprove Columbo's theory,
Yeah, I mean, at some point, she's gonna wash the nightgown and get out a new one.
or forget that the old one's there,
Yeah,
or the old or new, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But
But then her fingerprints would have been on the closet door, and they were not.
true.
So that's the big. Which Columbo doesn't. I don't know if Columbo even knows that at this point.
Why would he wipe the closet?
No, the maid. This
The
maid is
maid.
so thorough that
Oh,
she wiped every fingerprint off of every surface.
Gotcha.
except the downstairs phone that has Hugh's fingerprints on it. Yeah, this person is efficient. I forget what her name is, but all right. So now we're kind of ping-ponging around LA here on this day. Columbo goes back to Parker Center and he pops in on the commissioner who was about to leave. And Columbo's trying to squeeze some more information out of commissioner. He's like grasping at straws, just trying to get anything else that the commissioner might have besides black shirt, dark pants, dark hat. Like that's the only thing that the commissioner can tell him. And then right as the commissioner's leaving, Columbo mentions that that's what his wife said. So Columbo reveals that he went and talked to Margaret, and this stops the commissioner in his tracks. And Columbo notices, of course. So Columbo's clearly already picking up little pieces here. He's playing his, he's kind of playing dumb here, but he
Yeah.
dropped that little nugget and got quite a reaction. So Commissioner doesn't leave. He comes back and he's like, "Oh, you spoke to my wife." And so Commissioner I think doesn't suspect anything at all, but Columbo is clearly noticing some things here. Okay, Paul,
Yeah.
are you ready to enter the world's coolest bathroom?
No, Liz, we talked about this. Just kidding. Yes, let's do it.
So the world's coolest bathroom has mustard yellow carpets and a black tile tub that's elevated, and there's mustard yellow carpeted stairs that go up to the bathtub. And there's this really pretty orange floral kind of wallpaper. I've never seen a bathroom like this before.
Yeah.
Margaret is in here. She's taking a bubble bath, and Mark comes in here and she gets startled again. Margaret gets startled really easily. She says, "Mark, you startled me." And she asks him to leave the room. "You know, I like to bathe in private." And Mark tries to be friendly and loving in this moment, pretending to um, wash her back for her. And then he murders her, drowns her in the bathtub. And this murder they do show us. And poor Margaret had no idea. She just did not see this coming at all.
There's a scene like this in a movie called Any Sunday with Rosemary Murphy. It's a comedy though, and it's
Oh,
Jason Robards. She's in the bathtub, bubble bath, but it's her husband, played by Jason Robards. But it's kind of funny though because I was like, well, this is like very much like the Columbo episode, but not doesn't end in death.
okay. So she's not always murdered in a bathtub,
No, mm-mm.
but she's often featured in a bathtub.
No, no, no. Just that one movie, Any Wednesday.
Okay.
Jane Fonda was in it.
Okay. Yeah, this scene is a little bit dark. Um, you know, and he's you learn that Mark is just so driven by the money.
Yeah.
I was talking to Elliot about this my husband Elliot about this episode. And he's like, "So why does he kill her?" I was like, "For the money." He's like, "He doesn't he have money?" I was like, "Yeah, but he wants more money."
He gets debts with his gambling.
Yes. So he probably has a big gambling problem and a big gambling debt. So that's sort of the motivation, but it is sad. And Paul, it's time for a funeral already. This part is a little crazy. How do you have your wife murdered and then the next day you're having a funeral for her? I don't think that's very realistic. And then they show just a generic, or not a generic, but an image of a funeral home. I don't know if you noticed that image, Paul, when they
Yeah,
kind of cut to
the house is
the
like a zoom in of this huge. It looks like a
yeah,
mansion.
yeah. So according to IMDb, this is actually a villa on the French Riviera.
Oh,
And it's also featured in a James Bond movie. So I don't know why they decided to use that for the
yeah.
for the
B
image,
roll,
but
B roll
B-roll.
shots. Yeah, I may have. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was working on a documentary, and we had an archival team, and they got footage. They get footage from everywhere, and they had footage from Groundhog Day,
Oh,
like B-roll shots, even with some of the people, like not
weird.
the actors, but like the background actors, like the
Mhm.
shot that Bill Murray looks out the window and he can see the street.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, so they must sell that stuff, I guess any way they can make
Yeah.
money, and if it's
Yeah.
old enough and they have quality, digital files of it, they'll put it out there, Getty or whomever. So it's kind
Yeah.
of interesting though, because I was like, man, why would you? Oh well, you make money. That's why you do it. Any way you can parcel out,
Right.
that's why they charge so much to for anybody to license a song
Yeah.
for whatever kind of rights.
Oh, wait, but who are you saying makes the money here?
The company who owns it, like Universal or maybe Getty owns it, or they sell it to Getty. I'm not sure. That's a good question, but the people who paid for it, I'm sure, who owned the rights to it, are the
Uh-huh.
ones that somehow made or learned how to make more money from it.
So maybe they're out there like telling people, "Hey, you should use a shot from our stock footage. It's really beautiful."
Yeah, they probably give it to the libraries to sell, and they probably get a cut.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're remastering, they're always remastering movies,
Mhm.
especially good ones. And if you have B-roll shots, I mean, I remember seeing takes of, I don't know what the movies from the 70s. I don't even know what the movies were, but it was like these long takes, and it seemed like they were just rolling,
Mhm.
and nothing was happening yet. So it looks like a pedestrian street you could use to cut to the next scene. So it's very
Okay.
clever
Yeah.
to once you clean those prints up and make them into digital files that you could sell them.
Yeah. Huh.
So that Riviera thing this is the 70s, so I'm not sure if anybody had any money on that. It may have just been Universal's,
Yeah.
B-roll library or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, we need a shot, quick. What
Yeah,
about
they're like,
that
"Pick."
movie they filmed, the other movie they just finished, the
Right.
James Bond movie? Let's use it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a pretty building. The the interior shots, probably from a set, are of Janice's funeral, and Mark shows up. Hugh thanks him. They're both kneeling at Janice's coffin. And I really liked this little back and forth, this little exchange between the two of them. There was, you know, neither of them were rushing the conversation, that it just felt real. Hugh is thanking Mark. Well, first he asks where Margaret is, and then Mark's like, she's at home, which is true. And then Hugh thanks him for helping out. And before Hugh can even finish, like get his full thank you out, he's like saying, I just want to thank you. If there's anything I can ever do for you, before he's even finished his thought, Mark is like, yes, there's something you can do
Yeah.
tonight. And this was kind of wild, Paul. I don't know if you noticed, not that big a deal, but he actually said the line quid pro quo wrong.
Oh,
So quid pro quo, it means something for something. So it's like,
yeah,
I do this and you do that. I do this for you, you do this for me.
yeah.
And Mark says it quid quo pro instead of quid pro quo. I had
Oh.
to listen a couple times. I was like, did he really just mess up that line?
You're working in 10 days. You've got to move fast.
I was going to say, I'm sure no one noticed because I barely
Yeah.
noticed.
Hannibal Lecter says that to the Jodie Foster character in Silence of the Lambs. Pretty sure.
He says quid quo pro instead of quid pro quo.
No, he says it the correct way.
Oh, okay.
To her, I'll help you catch your killer, Clarice,
Okay.
if you do this and that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good phrase.
Should I start using that with St. John? Like,
No. No.
I'm
It's a
just
good
kidding.
phrase.
Sorry.
It's not a good way to relate to others. Something for something.
Should I do that to
Just
Yoda, my dog
does
Yoda? Like,
does
look, if
not
you,
build strong connection, Paul. Let me just tell you.
yeah.
Well, so Mark has a full plan lays it out for Hugh for how Hugh is going to help create an alibi for Mark, so that Mark won't get charged with Margaret's murder. Um, and it's time for a helicopter ride and a serious action sequence. This is like there isn't often a lot of action in a Columbo, but this
Yeah.
is like a little bit of like Die Hard, Bruce Willis kind of, toned down, of course.
Yeah.
But in the next scene, Halpern is in the helicopter with the cops. They're on patrol. Like he said, he promised in the press conference that they were going to be out on the road. A patrol car is also on the road, and they're cruising around Bel Air neighborhood trying to find the burglar. And Halpern thinks that he sees someone over by his house. So the helicopter shines a light over there, and we see Margaret being carried by, the quote unquote Bel Air burglar. And he's carrying her and he throws her into her own swimming pool. And meanwhile, Mark is watching this from the helicopter and he tells the helicopter, get down there now so I can help her. So the helicopter gets down and hovers above the pool. And then he jumps out of the pool into the helicopter and gets Margaret out of the pool. Anyway, it's like kind of a lot happening there.
Yeah.
It's fun though. And Mark is yelling for other cops to come and help him and call an ambulance. And the others arrive on the scene and they say, she's gone, Commissioner, there's nothing we can do. She's already dead. Now, Columbo is back again. He shows up at the commissioner's house. Columbo learns from Duffy, who's there as well, of course, that the burglar must have been waiting for Margaret by her car. And then there's another person on the scene here, a sergeant named Doyle, who kind of looks like an angry Justin Long a little bit. I don't know if you looked up this actor at all.
Is it Victor Campos?
Yeah, Victor Kemp. I thought he did a good job in his role. I liked him.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. He always had really believable sort of because he's a little doesn't he he's a little flustered the first time you meet him at the house, or not maybe here he's more flustered. I can't remember. But yeah, I always thought he had some good emotion going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was in Tupac movie Juice.
Oh,
Yeah, he plays the store owner. That's sort of like the pivotal person in a sense for the that movie Juice. He gets killed
oh,
by Tupac. And yeah, it's a. Did you never saw that one?
no, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's from the '90s. I only watched it recently. It kind of has a Shakespeare kind of feel to it to me.
Hmm.
Just sort of I don't know how it did. It was Ernest Dickerson, Spike Lee's cameraman,
Oh,
made it,
cool.
but
Hmm.
it's dark, dark kind of movie.
Yeah.
But but yeah, Victor. Yeah, I wanted to see a little bit more of his work, but I didn't get a chance to. Yeah, he's in just a couple scenes here. Doesn't he get tough on one of the guys?
Yeah. So he does get tough on Mr. I labeled him Mr. That's All.
Albert
Um
Popwell, yeah, Al
so
Como. Isn't he like in a group with Rosemary Murphy?
so he's affiliated with Holcomb House, where she was supposed to go get her award that night. And I get the sense Holcomb House does something for people who are like fresh out of
Hmm.
jail or prison or down, out down and out on their luck in some
Yeah,
way. So he maybe it was a recipient of their services at some point, and now he's got his act together and he's one of their employees or volunteers, or I don't know exactly. Anyhow, he shows up because she never showed up, and the phone was busy. And Doyle gives this guy a really hard time. He's like, "Where
yeah,
were you? Can you prove it?" And Columbo steps in and says, "Okay, Doyle, just get this guy's name and let him
yeah.
go."
It's a great little interaction. It's and realistic too. Yeah, he was in several Clint Eastwood movies.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
the actor. from Holcomb, who plays in the Holcomb House, Albert Popwell. Yeah, I watched
Okay.
an early film of his. Yeah, he was in Wild at Heart. They cut a scene,
Oh.
the David Lynch film, but he,
Mhm.
yeah, he plays Horace King in Sudden Impact, who's like a buddy of Clint Eastwood's. His roles got a little bit better as for the later um, movies he did. Cleopatra Jones. I watched one of those. He plays kind of a funny character, always kind of making jokes, but yeah, just this little moment. It's a great little scene.
Mhm. Yeah, this is another one of those little gems in this episode where, they could have kept it more, um, I don't know, they could have limited this, but instead they gave it a little bit more flavor and life, and, you've got Doyle going after this guy and then Columbo stepping in, and
Yeah, Clem was like, no, 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 leave this guy
yeah,
alone.
he's like, "This is not the guy. This is not our man."
And we know why. He's because he's African American. I mean, right?
Exactly, yeah, so there's definitely that undertone, and where Doyle is sort of quickly jumping to conclusions here, probably because he's a person of color. Um, and Columbo's like, no, you're wrong. Let's move on. Okay, so Columbo leaves the poolside scene to go inside again and check in on the commissioner, who is doing his best to act angry and distraught
They always
and
have
a
a
little
hard
bit.
time with this. He does a little better than the average villain,
hmm
but it's not. It's I'd give it like a 75.
Yeah. But that's good, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he's like,
but Columbo's just so he knows he's already getting vibes,
yeah,
bad
yeah,
vibes from his boss.
bad vibes. He's on to it. And Columbo makes a comment, points out, that Halpern seems to have a lot of these gut instincts. He had a gut instinct the night that Janice was found dead because he called for homicide before they realized there was a dead body. He had a gut instinct tonight because he wanted to point the light at his own home when there wasn't a lot of reason to do that.
Except for the planned
And
murder of.
yeah. And then he's like, I love this little moment where Columbo's like, yeah, I have a lot of those gut feelings too, right? I know something is wrong. I just can't put my finger on it.
Mhm.
And, the double meaning there, like, directed at Mark,
Yeah.
but very discreetly. And Columbo says he's going to take a look around the house. And Halpern kind of tightens up. He's like, Columbo, oh, yeah, go ahead. But he almost breaks character there. Columbo, it seems like he goes straight for the bathroom and he's checking out the tub. And then he chats with Duffy. He wants to understand. He's like, trying to get a feel for this guy. And Duffy says, haven't you heard of Future Shock? Have you heard of Future Shock, Paul?
Yeah, I think Dad gave me that book.
Really?
Yeah, about 6 years ago or something. Yeah, it was like it's an old
Ah.
book, but he was like he thought I might find it, and I did. I can't. I'm not sure where it's at. I wonder if Dad took it back to read for himself. No, it's a yeah, it's like a things of the future kind of thing, right? Like progression and things in technology and
It's so funny. Like I said, I've watched this episode a billion times. Well, not a billion, but many times. And I've heard that phrase. And I've just assumed that it was some kind of Duffy-ism, some kind of expression of his, like, uh, the future is shocking to us all. I don't know what I thought. I didn't realize he was referencing an actual book.
mhm.
And I learned that today. It's the concept of future shock is that we experience a ton of stress and disorientation. This is based on Wikipedia, by the way. A lot of stress and disorientation when we go through rapid change as a society. And that can be technology. It has to do with the post industrial world that we live in and how fast things change. And then there was a documentary film based on the book.
Mhm.
Did
Yeah,
you see that with Orson Welles as the narrator?
he did a few of those. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Yeah, I think that's the one Dad gave me. I'm pretty sure. If it wasn't that one, it was something very similar. But I
The
think it was
movie or the
Future Shock.
book? Because
The
there's a
book.
movie and a book. Okay, yeah. Well, anyhow, so Duffy says, you know, future shock. That explains what this new young murdering burglar is doing. Columbo's wondering about the ring on Janice's finger that the burglar didn't take. And Duffy's like, "Oh, that's a piece of garbage." So Duffy's trying to kind of get Columbo to toe the, department line here, but Columbo's still not buying everything. And he asks the doc, he goes back outside and he asks the medical examiner to check Margaret's lungs for chlorine from the pool. Doc says there won't be any chlorine. And Columbo says, "Well, just check her lungs for anything." And he says that he will. All right, back to Parker Center again. And it's the next day after Margaret's been murdered. And Mark is at his desk. He's working. He's not upset at all. But as soon as he hears that Columbo is coming into his office, he puts on his sad face.
Oh,
And
by the
and
way, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Future Shock is also a really good album by Herbie Hancock, and you've
ah,
probably heard of the first song, "Rocket."
cool.
Yeah, it was like a break dance. A lot of people break dance to that song.
Awesome.
Anyway,
Well,
sorry, keep going
maybe we
about
can
the
maybe we can make
commissioner.
a little Instagram reel with that song in it somehow.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know how to do that.
not yet. You don't.
Not yet. Okay, so Columbo's talking to Halpern at his office, saying, "No one expected you to be here today." Halpern's like, "I wanted to be here for Margaret." And Columbo starts laying out all these little bits and pieces that he's been collecting that make this murder seem like something that, more than meets the eye, basically. And um, Halpern's not buying it. He says, "You're wasting your time on these other theories. Just stick to the burglary theory and you'll find your man,"
Yeah.
which is very true. And now we head to Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. So this is obviously a very famous, very fancy shopping district. And Columbo goes to a jewelry store, Van Cleef and Arpels, which is still there today. The store has been there forever.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And he has a funny little moment with one of the he goes to this jewelry store. He wants to talk to Mr. Wexler. I don't know if he's the manager or just the name that was on Janice's jewelry receipts. But Mr. Wexler's busy when he gets there. So he ends up talking with another salesperson played by Arlene Martell.
Yay, Arlene.
Yeah. And I love this little moment. He wants a new band for his watch. The bands they have all start at $25. And he says, "No, no, I just want a band, not a watch." She's like, "That's just the band. $25 in today's money, it's about $150. So that's a pretty fancy watch band." Um, and then finally, Mr. Wexler's free. And we learn Columbo kind of has to pry information away from Mr. Wexler, too. But we learn that Janice Caldwell was selling her jewelry back to Van Cleef and Arpels, and they were making her really cheap lookalikes so that she could have cash to spend on her boyfriends, who I guess had no cash to spend on her. So she wanted to buy them nice gifts.
And that clears up the theory that you know that the diamond ring and all that.
Yeah, so what we were saying was that the ring on her finger was garbage, and that's why a pro wouldn't grab it. But actually, all of the jewelry in her jewelry box was garbage. So probably it was a pro would have left the jewelry box jewelry too. And
Uh,
and Mark ignored the stuff on her hands because he probably wasn't even thinking about, taking jewelry off of her body. and he was only thinking about taking the jewelry out of the jewelry box. That's what I think. But it's interesting because he doesn't really come back to that fact.
Well, he knows that reconfirms that's not the jewel thief.
Right. But he doesn't really use that later on in his, in any of his, he doesn't share that at all in the rest of it. It's like it's just something that he's holding in his own
Hmm.
mind,
Okay.
basically.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't verbalize it. I hear you.
Yeah.
But does he say something to the commissioner when he goes to his house at night about it?
He's about to, and then commission, and then he's like, I can tell you're tired, I'm going to go. So he doesn't end up sharing that with him, but he starts to,
Yeah.
and then he's like, I can tell you're tired, I'm just going to leave. Okay. So now we are going to meet one more person. It is Mr. Shoop. This was Mrs. Caldwell's latest boyfriend, and Columbo gets a ton of good information from Shoop. Shoop says that Janice was supposed to pick him up from work that night. She didn't show
Oh,
up.
right. Right. Right.
He called her house and she did not answer. So he went out with Shirley instead.
Yeah.
And Columbo believes him. Shoop is a total scumbag. I mean, he shows no emotion about Janice being murdered. And she stood him up once and he is off on another date. So, not a super nice guy. And after having this kind of, I would think, depressing conversation, he's still trying to get Columbo to sell his car because
Yeah.
Shoop is a used car salesman. Ah, he's a character. He is a character. Okay, back to Commissioner's house. I feel like in this episode, we go so many different places. I wonder if that's also why it's fun to watch because you're kind of like bouncing around a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a noir, a little bit like in a lot of those noir films, the the the, the gumshoes, like yeah, it goes all over LA trying to figure it out, talking to
Mm-hmm.
people. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this is very different in some
Yeah.
senses of that, because he does have the sense that the commissioner is involved, but the first section, like the first, maybe not the first half, but a lot of the first half, I almost feel like he doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really trying to piece it together.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I don't think he knows right away at all. Um all right, so Columbo
Unlike
goes
Mind Over Mayhem.
right where he knows instantly from the beginning. Yeah, this one's different. He goes back to the commissioner's house. He just shares all this information with the commissioner and says he thinks maybe Caldwell had an accomplice. And commissioner's like, "Well, why would this accomplice come and kill my wife? You're not making any sense." But Columbo's just sort of, you know, thinking out loud, processing, but also sort of trying to gauge Halpern's reaction to some of this information.
Yeah. Yeah, the old reaction.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. That's part of his. That's part of how he breaks this all down, right? It's like looking at people's reactions.
And that's
Um,
just what I thought. He always has sort of like letting them at ease.
mm-hmm,
Once he gets a nugget from them, like, oh yeah, he's guilty, or I'm on the right track. It's like
mm-hmm.
he's like, oh yeah, that's right, I didn't think about that. But he's
Yeah.
just like, aha, I knew it. Got another thing from this guy. So he's
Uh-huh.
excited, so he's able to act, you
Mm-hmm.
know, as if it's something else, as
Yeah.
if he just got good information from the man, but he got all the real information from the man
Right,
without the
right,
man
right.
thinking what he's giving him is false. He knows it's
Mm-hmm.
false, which
Mm-hmm.
he's like, aha, now I got this some more of the truth.
Yeah. Well, Columbo's in a patrol car when he's leaving Halpern's house. I guess his car is still having car troubles. And oh yeah, I think I left out a car trouble scene. But anyhow. Um
That was a good funny scene, yeah, early
yeah,
on.
it was funny.
I think that was Koenig said that was kind of added in there, but I liked it. I thought it was really good, really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is like a good minute or so of silence of just car sounds and Columbo. It's like,
Hmm.
but that's part of the charm of this show for sure. So yeah, so car troubles. He's borrowed another patrol car and it has a police radio in it. And over the police radio, he connects with the doc, who says they found soap
Yeah.
in Margaret's lungs, which is another really important piece of information. So clearly, she was drowned in a bathtub, not in the pool. Um, so Columbo goes back to Parker Center to talk with Duffy. He wants to know if before the murders happened, who was the lead suspect of the Bel Air burglaries? And Duffy says that's easy. It's Artie Jessup. He's been in and out of the joint since he was 20 years old. And so Columbo now is going to go have a drink. He's not going to have a drink. He's going to go to the bar where Mike Lally is cleaning the bar. Jessup is fiddling with his beer. Columbo pulls up next to Jessup and shows him some jewelry. He's like, what if I wanted to get a few dollars for this? Columbo orders Jessup a scotch, which was another possible drink inspiration for this episode. And as soon as Columbo reveals that he's from Homicide, Artie starts to freak out, but Columbo gets him to calm down. And Columbo gets him to sort of open up to him a bit. I don't totally know. I don't totally buy that Artie would do that so quickly
Yeah.
after that quick interaction, but he does. And the two of them are sitting back by the pool table, and Columbo is trying to get Artie to help him solve this murder because Columbo thinks he knows who did it.
Yeah. But if he's, I mean, one thing too is he's out of the joint and he meets someone like Columbo, you know,
Mm-hmm.
gets a read off of Columbo. You know, like he
Mm-hmm.
probably can read people too. And if
That's true.
he's not. I mean, you would think that you would hope that that's why he gives him the information,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's not just like easy to line.
right, right.
But he's like, yeah, you won't pin that on me.
Yeah. He gets mad at first. Um, I love the way, I don't know how much they were trying to do this, but I love the colors. So the two of them are sitting, Columbo and Artie Jessup are sitting in the pool area of the bar together and talking on stools, and the colors are really cool. It's like a blue wall and then a red wall, and then you see Artie's yellow shirt and the green pool table and all the colorful little pool balls.
Yeah,
Pool and anyhow, it's a really pretty shot right there. Someone needs to make a poster of that and
yeah.
capture all those colors. I don't know how much they were like, yeah, that'll be great.
No, it
Or if
looks
it just,
good. Looks really good.
yeah, it's really pretty. All right, so Columbo's got Artie on his side, and then we cut to Hugh and Mark. I think they're at Mark's home, and Hugh. So we don't see the conversation between Hugh and Mark, but we catch the gist because Hugh relays it to Mark and says, "This man claims he knows I killed my wife. He demands to meet, or he'll go to the police." And so the two men agree to meet Artie, just find out what he wants, and then take it from there. And so now we go back to the bar. This time, Hugh's going to go to the bar
With his shades.
with his shades on. And these are some of the best extras in any Columbo ever. All of the barflies sitting at the bar are amazing. I don't know if you saw them, but I think they might have just plucked them off of the curb
Yeah,
and offered them a free beer to come and sit at the bar.
probably. I think that's in the earlier scene too, when they were at the bar the first time you saw Val Avery, you got to see some.
Yeah, but this time
Oh, on the
around,
outside, the outside. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because they're like
the,
kind of briefly staring at the camera, or yeah, yeah.
like, these guys look legit, Paul. They're
Oh
like
yeah,
totally zoning out.
Yeah.
Their faces look very weathered. Their hair is kind of crazy. They're just great. I mean, yeah, they all look amazing. I love that all. Okay, so Artie and Hugh are back at the little dive bar. They're meeting up for the first time, and Artie gives Hugh his demands, says, I don't need proof of your murder. All I have to do is confess to the first three burglaries, and then the cops will look at the two murders differently. So Hugh doesn't admit to anything, but he asks Artie what he wants. And again, Hugh is this guy's so good, Paul, this actor. What did you say his name was again?
Val, what, Hugh? Oh, Michael McGuire. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's kind of shaky and nervous.
Yeah.
He's very convincing.
Yeah.
And
He's still alive, I believe.
oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, he was still doing plays and stuff, but he's got, if you look at his record, his career, the last acting television film thing was in 2005. But his last play, I think, or if you look at Broadway World, I think it was like 2008. Um, but yeah, I saw a couple of things with him. One where he's like a sort of a bad guy in this 40s film with Charles Bronson. It was pretty entertaining. It was sort of cut and dry, kind of simple. Walter Hill wrote the script. I think it's called Hard. Uh, what was it called? Hard Times. Yeah, he plays Gandil. It's set in New Orleans. Tried to watch this other really interesting thing with Rip Torn by this independent filmmaker, and it was just very difficult. And then, like, I was afraid one of the kids would walk in. It was
Oh.
very interesting, very well, very experimental. It's Rip Torn plays sort of I want to say he's a psychiatrist, but he films people who come into his house and they don't, or into his New York apartment,
Uh-huh.
and none of them know that he's recording them. I don't think, but it was just some of the stuff was really rough. Like I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be watching this one. It was just too strong, just too.
Yeah, too
But
much.
he was in it with Rip Torn. I think he plays one of. I don't know if he's a friend or something, but he came on later, and so I didn't get that far. What else did I see that he was in? But he had an interesting range. This one was the most lot. He had the most range in this Columbo that I saw. But
Oh, okay,
I
cool.
didn't see. Oh, you know what? The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, which is a really excellent film with Edward James Olmos.
Mhm.
A lot of actors: Pepe Serna, Barry Corbin, James Gammon. It was the camera operator for that very famous Reynaldo Villalobos.
Mhm.
Uh, he did Urban Cowboy. He's friends with Edward James Olmos. That was a really good movie, and he and Michael McGuire plays Sheriff Glover. That one, that one's based on a true story about a guy's sort of. Well, it's complicated, but that's on Criterion Collection. The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. That was really good. Really holds up. It's from like 1983, and it's set
Cool.
in 1901 Texas.
Cool.
Um, but but again, this was the most I could got to see of Michael McGuire's acting in this Columbo.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'd say
That's really cool.
he has so many opportunities in this to do different things.
Mhm.
Like to be upset.
Mhm.
To be pretending like everything's okay,
Mhm.
and to trusting his scary, creepy neighbor. Being forced into it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I really like Michael McGuire. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's like even better stuff that he's recognized for. Oh, that championship season was something he did on Broadway. I believe it was Broadway. I think he was nominated for that. He won like a not a Tony but something else, a Drama Desk Award. I'm not sure the exact name, but or yeah, that that probably was really, you really got to see him perform. I would
Mhm.
imagine.
Mhm. I bet. Oh, yeah, he's good. He's really fun to watch. Alright, well, we're almost at the end here. So, Hugh leaves the bar, and Mark is waiting for Hugh in the car outside, and Hugh says he wants $5,000, and Hugh says, "All right, get the money, and we'll deal with him tomorrow." And so um, the next morning, I'm pretty sure it's the next morning, we see Columbo behind a desk, his jacket's off. He's at Parker Center. He's working. He's looking through the burglary files. And Halpern walks in. He's like, Columbo, what are you doing here in Duffy's office? And Columbo explains that Duffy didn't want him to take the files out of his office. And, Halpern is surprised by Columbo. He didn't expect to find Columbo in there with the files. So he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take a look again," and trying to play it cool.
Columbo's setting the trap.
Columbo is absolutely setting the trap, and Halpern is walking right into the trap. So Halpern finds Jessup's file, gets the address. He's like, "Oh, actually, there's no sense in wasting my time. I'm just gonna
You know
go."
what you're doing, Columbo,
Yeah,
Lieutenant.
yeah. So then he goes home, gets the jewels he took from Janice's jewel box, and drives to the address he found in Jessup's file, which is, according to IMDb, this was filmed at 1106 Vine Street in Los Angeles. It looks like this is the actual place. There's still an army surplus store right next to the apartment building, or the entrance to the apartments, but the entrance is changed. It's like boarded up, or it's been changed in some way. But it's filmed on Vine Street, and in Colombo, the doors to this apartment complex are open. You just walk on in, and he finds Artie's apartment and breaks into the apartment and hides the jewels under Artie's mattress.
Well, this definitely looks like a set.
Yeah,
The
the
interior,
inside
yeah.
is, yeah, definitely very set like.
The lighting you can tell,
Yeah, and just
and the hallway.
the evenness of the dirty walls. It's like
Yeah,
too well distributed dirt or something.
yeah. I mean, it's easy to tell that even in new stuff, even on HBO. I've seen some serious things, and I'm like, oh, that's a set.
Mm,
Like as hard as
yeah.
they try, it's like
Hmm.
it's definitely not a real broken down place. It's a set,
Yeah.
but it's hard. I think the lighting is one thing. Artificial lighting. It's a lot of factors. It's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's hard. Okay, so Halpern has hidden the jewels, planted evidence basically. And now we go back to the dive bar. Some of the amazing extras are still at the bar, or back at the bar, and Artie's playing pool. Hugh shows up and hands Artie an envelope full of cash to pay off Artie's threat of blackmail. And then turns out one of the barflies is actually a cop, and all these other cops rush in to put Artie away. And Halpern says, "You're going away for murder and blackmail." And Columbo says, and Halpern says, "We're going to search your apartment right now and find the evidence that we need to lock you away." And Columbo says, "You need a search warrant." Mark has a search warrant, and Columbo checks it to make sure it's the right address. And it is. And Columbo says, "Commissioner, I believe you're making a mistake."
Yeah.
He's trying
Don't
to
do it.
Columbo must have this internal moral compass where he
Yeah.
genuinely feels bad about, you know,
Yeah. Hold on. Wait. Are you
busting
sure
this
we
guy.
shouldn't be doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. But Commissioner's like, "No, I'm not. I'm going to prove it to you." And so now we go on to the grand finale, where they show up at Artie's apartment. They start searching around for the jewels. And this is where Columbo starts to lay it all on the line.
Hmm.
He explains all the evidence he has against Halpern, and he says, I think you killed your wife, and you're either covering up for or you also killed Janice. Halpern says, you just lost your badge, Columbo. And then they find the jewels, and then, this is the great gotcha at the end. Columbo calls in Artie, and Artie says, I don't even live here. And Columbo shares that he is the one who rented this apartment. These are his pajamas, his underwear, his niece, and his nephew. And we just have a very satisfying gotcha here at the end where we get to see Halpern's realization sink in. We get to see him actually, you know, feel awful for getting caught. Not for doing it, but for getting caught.
Yeah.
And that is the end of A Friend Indeed.
Friend indeed.
A friend
I know you have
indeed.
friends like that, Liz.
Oh gosh, I hope
Just
not.
kidding.
Oh. All right, so this is where we like to give it a rating from 1 to 10. And I mean, I think you know how I feel about this one. It's one of my faves. Do you want to give a rating first, Paul, or you want me to?
You give a rating first.
Okay, I'm going to give this I think I'm going to give this a 10. I can't remember if I gave Candidate for a Crime a 10 or not, but I'm going to give this
Uh,
one a 10. There isn't a lot of food, which I love seeing the food from the 70s, but there's everything else. There's excellent music. There's all these great non-studio locations. There's even a little action sequence, which is super fun. The country club scene, I love. And the gotcha at the end is just so satisfying.
yeah. Yeah, I give it a 10 too, Liz.
No way!
Yes, yes.
Whoa, Paul!
Yeah, no, I love this stuff. That's why I didn't want to watch it again because I want to watch it again where I'm not having to think about it and want to, like
Mhm, mhm,
take any notes or anything like that.
mhm, mhm,
Because just the acting and the acting was phenomenal by everybody. I
mhm.
thought
Yeah,
the the direction was different. It was darker. Like that
yeah.
scene when Columbo's looking in the closet and you mentioned the music. Yeah, the
Mhm,
shots are actually dark and they're handheld and close. It's very, but it worked well for me. Like I liked
mhm,
it. The plot itself. I mean, this was Peter Fisher's first one, I think, because they needed an extra episode for the season, and they gave him the idea, but it was just so good because you could then two, not that there's two murders, but just like this whole. The guy in the beginning, he went to him because he's hoping he could. What am I going to do? What can I do? But
mhm.
I didn't mean to. You're a policeman. You're the police person.
Right.
And he's like, we're not going to do anything. Don't worry. you know,
He's like, "We got this."
yeah. So yeah, and he and Kylie with that sort of dark cigarette, inhaling the smoke and sitting
Mhm.
down. I was like, man, this guy is good. And of course, McGuire,
Wait,
and
Kylie? Who's Kylie?
he's Mark Halpern.
Oh, oh, okay,
Richard
sorry.
Kiley is the actor's
Oh,
name.
oh, oh, yeah, I should know
Yeah,
that.
he did musicals on Broadway.
No way!
Yeah, yeah. Um, but he was, I don't know, like I want to watch some more of his performance. I saw him in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which was a Richard Brooks directed that. He was sort of a hard. He did Elmer Gantry, but he plays Diane Keaton's dad, and it's sort of a dark figure in a way. So that's a super dark film with Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton's really good in it. She's really, really got a wide range of different types of scenes throughout, but it's very extremely dark. I'd always heard about that film. It's got like Richard Gere, Tom Berenger, but Kylie plays the dad, this Catholic dad who's got
What's that film called,
two or
Paul?
three daughters, looking for Mr. Goodbar. It's based on a woman's novel, and then Richard Brooks changed the script around a lot. He felt he gave the Diane Keaton's character more depth and stuff, but it felt like she lacked depth in the book. But I've never read the book, but I watched the movie and Now I know why I never watched it. I knew there was some scary stuff in it, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And it probably like some stuff is if somebody watched it. I think when it came out, it would really divided critics and stuff. I think it got more. But she won the Oscar. Diane Keaton won the Oscar that year for Annie Hall. But some people feel like because Looking for Mr. Goodbar was so dark that they wouldn't have wanted to give that film an Oscar for anything.
Oh,
But
interesting.
it did maybe helped her win the Oscar for Annie Hall.
Mm,
So I think something like that.
okay.
But yeah, Kylie. They even show Kylie's face in the credits as being ominous. Like the opening credits of that movie are really cool. This I forget the photographer's name, but it's these black and white stills with this music. Lots of different pop music from the times from the 70s, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, Kylie was a great uh, villain in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I liked so much the direction and the acting and the story.
Mhm.
It just all really added up. It wasn't a lot of like sort of that stuff that Jack Cassidy gives going back and forth necessarily. It was different, which was
Right,
good
right.
because you have different performers creating different reactions, like the one where he's finds out his wife's dead and he's got the towel and he sits in the chair, and that was pretty good.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah, that little back and forth. Yeah, and Columbo couldn't do the same. This is his boss, right? This is his like big time boss. He can't do the same kind of like poking the bear that he can do
yeah,
as blatantly with some of the other villains. So yeah, the dynamic is different for sure.
and
But it
Lieutenant
worked. I think it works.
yeah, and Lieutenant Duffy, having sort of like this is the way it is, this and just having more
Mhm.
scenes. I think
Mhm.
it's nice to see that in it. But
Yeah. Yeah, there
yeah,
was a really good mix of other little details and little, like, tiny stories that weren't too many, like some Columbos, there's too many pieces happening, like, the movie with the, oh gosh, the boy genius and his dad's or uncle's chemical plant, and there's just so many little pieces that we
the
don't quite
the Mind Over
understand.
Mayhem, that one.
No, with Roddy McDowall.
Oh, right, yeah, short fuse.
Short fuse. So
Yeah,
that one, there's like
yeah,
little things happening that it's just gets confusing and it's too much. And in this one, it's more like there's extra pieces, but they're more like character driven, not, they're more like personality driven and not so much a big plot line that you have to understand and figure out. It's like just interesting characters that make
yeah,
make it really fun to watch.
yeah. It's very straightforward.
Mhm.
You start to learn. But yeah, that opening restaurant scene's so great. So feels so real.
Mhm.
And then the wife, Rosemary Murphy. I really like watching her. She's very
Mhm.
subtle. She's really kind of keeps it internal. It's believable. I watched a lot of her stuff, and
Oh,
she
she's
had
got
a
a new fan, new
interesting
fan.
range. Yeah, no, I really like her. Yeah, she was she. Yeah, I always feel like I wish I could see more from her in some of the stuff that I've seen, because she's always believable. But I saw her in some very different roles, like one where she's like the head of like this redneck mob group.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I think it was Hattie Caldwell or something like that. She had like a shotgun, wanted to kill the sheriff, and tried to kill
Wow.
him. And yeah, yeah, she was
I
really
I
good in
can
that.
only picture her I can only picture her as a very classy lady in her gardening suit.
Yeah, she got a lot of that. She played Franklin D. Roosevelt's mother.
Hmm.
Yeah, in a mini series. And she would play like a evil mother, very cold, scary
Oh.
mother.
Mhm.
And some
I
I
could
want to
see
see
that.
this one she did called Ben. And I want she was another one called The Hand with Michael Caine that Oliver Stone wrote. I wanted to see that. Um, I watched one called The Attic, and she was good, but it was very brief. just a couple scenes really. Um, but yeah, now she was in To Kill a Mockingbird with
Oh, really?
yeah, she plays
Gregory
Gary,
Peck?
yeah, Gregory Peck's neighbor, yeah, who's a friend, like a good friend. Yeah, she's really good. She's very, you know,
I've seen that movie, but I can't picture her
she
that
doesn't,
movie.
yeah, she's not a ton of scenes, but she's in there.
Yeah.
She's sort of like she
Okay.
got top billing. Like if you see the poster for it, it's her name's at the top with the other actors on the.
All right.
It's on the actual poster.
Cool. All right, Paul. Well, you got some trivia questions for me?
Yeah, I sure do.
Uh-oh.
You
Here we
ready?
go.
All right.
Here we go. I'm ready.
Okay. So Richard Kiley, who plays Mark Halperin, Ben Gazzara, who's the director, and Rosemary Murphy, um, all three of them did more than 8 Broadway shows.
Oh, jeez, Paul. These questions are so hard. I'm going to say true.
True.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
All three of them won Emmys.
Ben Gazzara, Rosemary
Murphy and Richard
Murphy,
Kiley.
and Richard Kiley. Oh, jeez, Paul. Yes, I'm going to say true.
That's true.
Oh my gosh, I got two.
Yeah. And
What else you got?
all three of them won Tonys.
I don't know, Paul. I can see you're smiling. I'm going to say false.
What? Yeah, it's false.
Yes. Who won Tony's out of those three?
Only Richard Kiley.
Okay.
Yeah. But they were all nominated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait.
Gazzara did. Gazzara worked with Tennessee Williams. He was the original uh, the guy who was in love with an old friend.
Hmm.
They didn't say homosexual then.
Hmm.
What I've read, but it was Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Tennessee Williams. Ben Gazzara was the original that original character. Paul Newman played him in the movie um, that came out later.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, Gazzara is great. Like I've watched several of his things, like Killing of a Chinese Bookie, which is John Cassavetes.
Hmm.
Um,
And
it's,
Gazzara acts in that one.
yeah, he's the main character named Cosmo. He's like this strip club owner
Hmm.
who has a gambling problem. Um, I think it got good reviews, but did actually I think the reviews were mixed. I think they were poor reviews, some of that. But that one I saw a long time ago, like in college, and then I watched it again recently, and like sort of a director's cut. I think it was a little bit different. Both times I enjoyed it. I've always liked Cassavetes. I mean, it's not easy some of the stuff, but because there's a lot of improv. But he did Husbands with Cassavetes and Peter Falk.
Hmm.
That was like the first time those two worked with John Cassavetes.
Okay.
Um, that one's interesting. That one was a little tougher to watch. I liked it though. I thought it was good. Let's see. I got another one for you.
What? Four? I just
Yeah.
did.
Come on.
Okay.
It's
All right. It's
okay.
not going to count against me, though, if I get it wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ben Gazzara was married to. Remember the woman who didn't like Columbo in Double Shock in the apartment and did the yoga.
You mean the housekeeper?
Was she a housekeeper? Julie Newmar is her name. Is the actress's name? That was one of Ben Gazzara's wives.
Oh, wait. You're saying that Ben Gazzara was married to oh, right. The one who get the right. Okay. Sure. Why not? I'm going to say yes.
No,
No?
no, he wasn't married to her.
Uh,
Sorry, Liz.
that's okay. Was he married to a different actress
He
from
was
Columbo?
Janice Rule. He was married to Janice Rule.
What did she play?
Um, what was she worked with Jimmy Stewart? She was a New York actress, I believe.
Wait, but not a Columbo actress.
No, no, yeah, I don't think she
Oh,
was in
okay.
Columbo. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, one more.
What?
Rosemary Murphy was born in Munich.
Sure. Why not?
Born in
True.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's true. And
Ah!
her first film was a film called Der. I think it's called Der. What was the name of that? You can actually watch it. It's like a German production kind of. They speak German in it, but they also speak English. It's like they go back and forth. It's black and white. It's like, what is it called? Der Rule. Let's see, Rosemary Murphy. It's amazing. You can get a lot of these movies online for
Yeah,
free.
that's awesome.
I love it.
Very cool.
Um, let's see. It is
And
called
Paul, you're
Der
gonna have to
Roof. DRIF.
make sure you get photos of all these movies you're referencing.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like, look. So yeah, history of the Pulitzer plays. They have images of Richard Kiley in here, images of Rosemary
Oh, cool.
Murphy,
Paul,
images of
show me a book.
oh yeah, sorry, images of Ben Gazzara doing Broadway, and then this was a really cool book I was reading. So Rosemary Murphy played one of the main characters in a play called Any Sunday. That was a Broadway play, I believe, and she was in the film version too with Jason Robards. That's the one in the bathtub scene I was telling you about.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So the author, the woman who wrote Any Wednesday, the play, Muriel Resnick, she wrote like a making of while they were trying to get the play produced because she was a book writer. But this book is great. It has Gene Hackman was in the play. She wanted Gene Hackman. He wasn't known. She wanted Rosemary Murphy. She wasn't that known.
Hmm.
I think she was known in the theater world, but Hackman wasn't necessarily known yet. But nobody wanted Hackman. Sandy Dennis, the other lead, she didn't want him. The producers didn't want him. But Muriel Resnick was like, no, we got to have Hackman. He made my words come alive. And Rosemary Murphy was her first pick to play the wife
Oh, cool.
in this. And it's kind of funny. It's a funny thing. She wanted Mike Nichols to direct it, but I don't think he did. And then this is really cool. Ben Gazzara book I was reading, autobiography in the moment. He worked with some great foreign directors, like the man who directed Big Deal on Madonna Street, because he speaks English in that film. It has Toto and Anna Magnani, but he knew what they were saying. They speak in Italian in the film. A lot of those productions back then would have the foreign actors speak their own language and they would just dub and everything.
Oh, okay.
And then Kylie got nominated for a lot of things, but one of his Emmy nominees was the Ray Bradbury Theater television
Oh, nice.
series.
Oh, wow.
And that episode was one of the better ones that I watched. Yeah, he plays this guy who was bullied. I think he was bullied by somebody his whole life, and then he sees the guy much later in life and wants to take revenge. Um, and then I saw
Oh,
Rosemary
sounds
Murphy
heavy.
in Maud. Do you remember this
Oh,
series, Maud?
no.
It's a Norman Lear series, but she plays an old friend of Maud's, like an old
Okay.
sorority sister. And what else? Oh yeah, Peter Falk was in this one, Wind Across the Everglades. I've had this one for a
Ah,
while. It's Bud Schulberg, Christopher Plummer. Very cool, kind of interesting film. And one more, Liz. I'm not done.
okay. I'm here
One
for it,
Step
Paul.
Beyond. Rosemary Murphy was in this, and it's kind of funny to watch her in this one. She plays like
Okay.
she turns into like a possessed alien or something. I
Oh
can't
my
remember.
gosh.
It's just kind of silly, and it's probably not one of her favorite things to do. But
Not one of the highlights of her acting career, maybe.
yeah. So well, that's it.
Wow, good research there, Paul. We're gonna have to have all those books and movies. We'll have it all in our show notes so folks can check them out.
Yeah.
And
Oh, one more. Rosemary Murphy and Ben Gazzara were in a movie together.
yes, true.
Okay, fine. That was easy. That one
What movie?
you can watch on YouTube as well, or it's available easy for free. It's called The Young Doctors. It was. I watched about half of it. It was Frederick March or Mark. I can't remember. He was an older actor that Gazzara grew up watching and was a dream to come true for him to watch in that. Oh, here's one.
Oh gosh, Paul.
All of these actors were in movies based on real stories.
Um,
And they were all directed by the same director.
what? Okay, true. Is that true?
Close, almost. So Phil Carlson's the director, and he did a film with Ben Gazzara called The Young Doctors. That one, based on research and stuff, but it's not based on a true story necessarily. Walking Tall is another one he did. That's the one that Rosemary Murphy played the crazy sort of redneck mobby
Oh, okay. Mhm.
lady. That one was based in truth. That's a well, it was a sheriff Buford Pusser, Pusser, based on the life of Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusser. So that one had some truth in it, and that was pretty enjoyable. The other one that he directed that had Richard Kiley in was really good. And that one was probably the closest to being. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait,
No more,
sorry.
Paul. We gotta wrap this up.
Okay.
We've got to wrap this
All
up.
right.
You
So
have
that
too much information in that giant
Phoenix
brain
City,
of
it's
yours.
something about Phoenix City, and that's where Tad is from, our friend Tad.
Oh yeah, I know Tad.
Yeah, so that was like one of the most corrupt towns at one time. The Phoenix City story. And that was Phil Carlson with Richard Kiley playing the good guy who wants to do the right thing. He plays
Ah,
like he wants to help out. That was really entertaining. I think, yeah, it was. I think they consider that a noir one, but there's some documentary stuff in it about what was happening there.
okay.
Because it was an ongoing trial that
Yeah.
there was really corrupt. So Otto Preminger did a film that was Ben Gazzara's big film. That was based on a true story about a guy who killed another man in a fit of jealousy. And in the movie, Jimmy Stewart plays the lawyer. It's not the same director. It's Otto Preminger directed it, but that one was called. That was a big budget film. It had Lee Remick, Ben Gazzara, and they actually shot like Jimmy Stewart, the lawyer he's playing. The lawyer he's playing, they used the actual house that was his house. Like they
Oh,
shot in the town where it all happened.
well.
Anyway, I'll shut up. Enough, right?
Well, I mean, you're just demonstrating that there's a lot of good people in this episode here. A lot of interesting connections, a lot of good work that they did.
Yeah, I think Gazzara, and Hargrove, they're smart. They want to get good actors to pull off these things. And did they ever? They made it. They just. I mean, the TV is not an easy thing. You gotta act. It doesn't. It helps if you're beautiful too, but the acting is primo.
Yeah.
And Peter Falk and everybody knew that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one was so good.
So glad you liked it, Paul.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, well, let's sign off.
All right.
We want to thank Maxime Gervais for our theme song, Columbo.
Yay,
Thank you
Maxine.
so much. And this podcast is edited by John Warenas. Thank you, John.
Yay.
If you'd like to add to our conversation, you can email us. We are trenchcoatcigar@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram. We are at trenchcoatcigar. We also have a Patreon. If you'd like to help support our show, you can get exclusive behind the scenes updates and video recordings of our conversations at patreon.com/trenchcoatcigar. And if you don't have the funds to support us on Patreon, we would love it if you would give our podcast a rating and review wherever you listen. That really helps our show so much. And Paul, one more thing here.
Yeah, The Hornet's Nest was also directed by Phil Carlson with Rock
No,
Hudson. It's
no,
not the greatest film.
that's not what I was going to
Oh,
say.
what?
Thanks for listening.
Trench coat, cigare, là toujours. Colombo, roman pour Colombo. Pas de gun, pas de loup, what a look. Colombo, trench coat, cigare, là policière avait un plan sans faille, pensez à chaque détail. L'inspecteur Colombo pensera toujours en dehors